Hey, everybody. Super excited for this chat today with Legion, talking about the future of workforce management, trends, opportunities in the enterprise space, and the future of work. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing quite well. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. Special Massachusetts edition. We're both based in Massachusetts. That doesn't happen every day. But thanks for joining. Maybe introduce yourself. And for those who aren't familiar, who is Legion?
Certainly. So I'm Michael Spatar. I'm the Chief Customer Officer here at Legion. I've been with Legion for about 2.5 years. We focus pretty much on retail as our primary customer base, but we also have manufacturing, distribution, hospitality. Um, Legion is a 7-year-old startup. Our core mission is to improve the lives of hourly workers and make hourly jobs good jobs. That was the founding
Mm,
thesis for establishing the company. And we do that by providing workforce management solutions that enable employees to have the right flexibility that they've come to expect in today's world, and that's a very different world than we were in, 3 years ago in the height of the pandemic. If you look at retail as a whole, retailers didn't struggle with hiring as much as they are struggling with it today. Some retailers struggled to really believe in giving people more than minimum wage, and as you know, it's hard to hire people, so everyone's paying more than minimum wage today.
mm.
Um, but employees really have come to expect more from their employer. They're expecting gig-like flexibility so that they can have the right work-life balance. And they're not only expecting that of their employer, they're demanding that of their employer. They also want to interact with that employer in the same way they interact with everything else in their life, right, through a mobile device. And they really want a meaningful say in workforce management and the ability to really achieve what that employee wants to achieve. And at the same time, Legion balances that by really helping employers to enable those employees to have what they expect from a workforce management solution, but also meet their specific needs as it relates to ensuring that they have the right coverage on the floor to meet the customer's demands.
Well, great overview. Very, very helpful. And the category WFM has been um, around for a long time and sort of as a new kid on the block, sort of. How do you differentiate yourself on this landscape and versus some of the legacy solutions out there?
So if we look at the legacy solutions out there today, Legion is truly the only SaaS-based workforce management solution out on the market today. And what I mean
Oh,
by
wow.
that is it was built from the ground up in the cloud, right, as a SaaS solution. It was also built from the ground up with machine learning and artificial intelligence built into every module. So every one of the modules that comprise our workforce management solution is leveraging machine learning and learning from
Mm.
right the actual experience that's going on and improving the ability to forecast, improving the ability to create the right schedule. What is the benefit to machine learning and artificial intelligence being built into the product? That we can forecast more accurately than right the store manager that has 57 other things to do. So we can create a better sales forecast. But the other side of that equation is because machine learning and artificial intelligence is built into everything that we do, we can automate 70 to 90% of the workforce management process so that managers don't spend as much time creating and managing schedules and can spend more time developing their employees and more time on the floor with customers.
Wow, it's a great value proposition there. Congratulations. So let's talk about retail. I mean, the retail workforce has been notoriously sort of neglected through COVID. They've had a lot of challenges. Maybe share a success story around working with a retail customer and helping transform operations. And I think you have multiple goals there, right? Employee experience as well as workforce management.
Yeah. So when we look at really what retailers are trying to prove. It's trying to achieve. It's a balancing act, right? It's the
Mm,
ability to ensure that they can meet their customers' expectations. But because of the dramatic changes in the retail workforce, it's required retailers to spend just as much of a focus on creating the best possible employee experience as well as the best possible customer experience. And
mm,
that's driven largely by employees and what their demands are from their employer. So we surveyed about 1,000 managers and 1,500 hourly workers, and we learned a lot of really interesting information. Managers really wanted to, the most challenging part of managers' jobs was creating and managing schedules and providing employees with schedules that were perceived to be fair. Employees were looking for that gig-like flexibility.
mm,
When we surveyed these employees, it was surprising. 57% of employees said that they would likely move from their existing employer to a new employer within the next 6 to 12 months. Conversely, 67% of those people surveyed said they were prepared to leave the retail workforce management space within the next 12 months. So, right, we do
wow.
have a dramatic change in the staffing challenge within retail. So as I said, employees are looking for that gig-like flexibility. The most important aspect for them is schedule fairness, the ability to create a schedule that is conducive to their needs. The other component of that is, again, in our survey, a year ago, 2% of employees said they would leave their employee and go to another employer if that employer had instant access to wages.
Mm,
Today, 42% of employees say that they would leave their current employer and go to another employer that had instant access to wages, meaning that I'm going to work my shift. When my shift is complete, my punches are correct, my time card gets processed, I can actually get a portion of my wages from that day. That's proven to be critically important to employees. So those are the things we're helping employers with. When I think about workforce management broadly, historically, I don't think retailers looked at leveraging their workforce management solution as a competitive advantage or a way
mm,
to recruit and retain people. But in today's world, especially with Legion, um, you can actually use your workforce management solution to recruit employees, right? The gig-like flexibility, instant
mm.
access to wages, modern technology, all of these aspects are things employees are looking for. So if you could market that to employees, you will actually get people that are interested in joining your company rather than somebody else's. And because of that type of flexibility, they're likely to stay with you that much longer. So that's kind of the focus that we have with a lot of our customers is how do we enable them to leverage the workforce management solution to be a competitive advantage?
Wow, well done. Super exciting. You mentioned AI, and everyone is mentioning AI. It's of course all the rage now, but you've been at it for a while. How do you specifically use AI to manage workflows and processes and automation? Give us maybe an example or two.
So when I think about AI, right, it's more advanced automation. Maybe historically you could automate functionality within a product by creating rules that say if A then B. Artificial intelligence is leaps ahead of that. So not only are you looking at if A then B, but the application is actually learning from processes and actually
Mm,
making recommendations based on leveraging the data to help the employee make the best decision possible. Whereas
wow.
in the past, right, they had to make that decision by maybe sourcing through reports to determine who's the best person to bring in to fill an open shift. In today's world, you have the ability to basically automate the entire uh, schedule management process. So a perfect example, Evan, is you call out sick. The application, you call out sick. We change in the application that your shift from a actual schedule to an open shift, the application goes out and determines who's the best fit for this role. It sends
Oh,
out
wow.
notifications to those employees. An employee selects that open shift, and the only thing the manager knows is that I'm coming in instead of you.
Mm.
Whereas in the past, right, they would have had to go and look at their phone list and determine who's available and go call 10 people and hopefully get somebody to come in. Now they can spend time with their customers and their employees while the application is actually doing the work.
Oh, fantastic approach. So new technology is notoriously difficult to deploy in, retail, large retailers in particular, so much legacy and sort of technical debt and, antiquated systems of various kinds. So what are some of the challenges you have to overcome to introduce, your software into a new customer?
So interestingly enough, so my background, I spent many years on the customer side
Mm,
before going over to the software side, and I was in workforce management on the software side for about the last close to 25 years, and worked for competitors in the space. And historically, workforce management applications, were very difficult to implement, took a really long time to implement, and administrators on the customer side that were responsible for managing the configuration found it very difficult. When,
mm,
again, Legion being a 7-year-old company and really thinking about how do we want to provide our customers with the best possible experience, we've actually looked at how do we simplify that implementation timeframe. So when we think about implementing, whether that's for a major retailer with hundreds of thousands of employees, or a smaller retailer with 10,000 employees, the application is intuitive. The UI is really easy to understand.
mm.
Um, Federal, state, and local legislation is built into the product. It is template based. So when we talk about doing requirements gathering, I'm gathering those requirements and populating templates that I apply to a store, a group of stores, or the entire enterprise, and the application is automatically configured.
Mm.
The fifth dimension of that is if I don't know how to do something in the application, I simply ask the application and it tells me how to create a schedule or how to
Oh,
process a
wow.
punch exception. So from a change management perspective, it's fairly easy to implement. So when I sit down with a retailer and talk about an implementation timeframe, we can implement a retailer in as quickly as 3 months,
Mm.
and a larger retailer, maybe 9 to 12 months. But that's quicker than anyone else in the market today.
Yeah, that's well done. Congratulations for that. And, industries are different, although there's some commonalities. You get into healthcare, fitness, or different aspects of retail. I mean, you're a SaaS platform, so how do you, support all those needs flexibly while, still being, a product house, not a services company?
Yeah, so I think there's two dimensions of that.
Yeah.
For many years, retailers were very much said, we're all very radically different, and I need all this
Mm.
customization in order to
Right.
be successful. I think they've realized that they weren't getting the value out of a lot of that customization, and maybe they're more alike than they are different.
Mm.
So there's an openness to more vanilla type of functionality. But that being said, it's not a matter of really being a vanilla solution. What it's a matter of is building building functionality within the product that is extendable. So when I think about compliance rules, if in the past, if a customer said, I'd like the application to do this from a compliance rule, I could build that customization and basically say it's going to do exactly that. But the problem you have today as it relates to compliance is a retailer's interpretation of a piece of legislation could be different for every single retailer, right? Same legislation, different interpretation. So when we think about building a solution, we're building it in a flexible enough way that gives the customer the ability to configure it in a way that specifically meets their needs, but it's not customized. So I could have 4 customers with the same legislation, different interpretation of that legislation, and each one of them can configure that application slightly different, but it has the flexibility to address that. And that's the same thing from a time and attendance perspective and a scheduling perspective. When I think about Legion, you asked this question earlier about, what's different about Legion. Um, when I think about the path forward, a 7-year-old startup, we don't intend on being just another workforce management solution.
Mm.
What we intend on doing is reshaping the definition of workforce management, and not only for retail, but for all verticals. As you said, we've been focusing on retail, but we have distribution centers, we have hotels, we have restaurants, we have quick service, and again, that's because the application is so flexible that we're able to leverage it into these different spaces. But we're also looking at what does the future hold, right? And evolving. So perfect example of that, I said, earned wage access. Most workforce management companies, if you want to implement instant access to wages, you're likely implementing another mobile app. With Legion, we built it into our core product. So everything that you're doing is in the mobile app, in the Legion mobile app. So I can see my time card, I can see my schedule, I can swap shifts, I can communicate through that mobile app, and I also can get instant access to wages in that mobile app. So we really think about not only where is the industry today, but where's the industry going? Another example of that is generative AI, right? A new buzzword that everyone's talking about. We just introduced our Copilot. So
Oh, wow.
think about the future of workforce management. Instead of going to a laptop or a device to actually do the work, I'm just going to ask the device for the answer, right? So find somebody to fill this open shift, and the application is just going to go do that instead of me having to type in multiple tasks to have the application go do that. So we've introduced that, and we're starting to work with some early customers around generative AI and their ability to interact with the application in a very different way.
Oh, fantastic approach. Can't wait to see the results. Looking at your website here, you have some great client success stories and logos. Care to call out any customers or deployments in particular, without naming your favorite children, but
No,
I'm sure you have lots to talk about.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest success stories is Dollar General, right? An enterprise retailer with thousands of locations and hundreds of thousands of employees.
Wow.
We went to pilot with them in about 7 months, and we fully deployed within the first year of that work. And when we think about Dollar General, what we see them doing is they basically implemented the foundation of Legion, and now over time they're continuing to evolve. What I would say on the maturity curve of let's get the foundation in, and then let's introduce more and more of the technology that we invested in to ultimately get to the point where we can fully automate that entire workforce management process. So we have a really great relationship with Dollar General, but that's the same relationship we have with all of our customers. We're not working with the customer just to implement the solution, where we want to be their partner for life.
Wow, nice goal there. So you talk a lot about employee centricity and employee experience. Use words like work-life balance. Even that's kind of unusual for a WFM vendor. Tell us more.
Yeah. So as I said, right, our mission is to improve the lives of hourly workers, and make hourly jobs good jobs. That's what inspires us. That's what we think about. So when we're thinking about what enhancements we want to make to the product, one of the things we are always thinking about is, what does this mean to that hourly employee? And you're right, that's not common in the workforce management space. Our competitors will talk about employee engagement, and they might have a deeper level of what employee engagement is. For Legion, it's personal, right? That's our mission, is really to improve the lives of hourly workers. So everything we do is about how do we make that experience better, because we firmly believe that if we can make the experience better for the employee, you're going to increase your ability to retain those employees. and they're right. They're going to have a better working experience with that employer.
Well done. Well, let's hear to that. Um, so, our cusp of the new year. Any predictions for next year, or a preview of what you're planning for next year? We're running up to NRF, the big retail show in New York. That's probably going to be big for you. What do you expect?
Yeah, so I think NRF is the biggest retail show of the year. I expect that to be exactly the same this year. The difference is, I think the momentum and the enthusiasm for Legion has grown significantly. So I'm expecting to have a better show a significantly better show than we had last year, and last year was a great show. I do think as we evolve into the new year, I think you will see generative AI seeping into everyone's life in a more meaningful way. I think you'll see that not only in retail, but I also think your dining experience will evolve over the next 12 months, where you'll have more automation associated with your dining experience. Efficiencies will be gained across all of these segments by using generative AI. So I think the buzzword for next year will really be about generative AI and how that's going to change our lives.
Oh, I can't wait to see that unfold. So I assume you're at home base here in Boston, right in the city for the holidays. So you're not going to be traveling. You're finished, as it were, for the
I
year.
am. There was a period where I was traveling for about 8 weeks to various conferences,
Oy.
and I was happy to be home. And I think with one more week, just this week before Christmas, I think I'm pretty much done with travel for the year, which I'm excited about.
Well, good for you. Rest and recover for next year. And Boston, is great for the holidays, except when there's, hurricane force winds, as we had the other day. Otherwise, it's a great destination for the holidays. Well, thanks so much, Michael, for joining and sharing your vision and really unique industry insights. It's been fascinating. So,
Evan, thank you so
thanks.
much
And
for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
I did as well. And thanks everyone for watching. Reach out to Legion. They're all over social media. They do a great job there. And take care, everyone. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.